Hi, this is John. Let's learn about events. First, let's log in. The way we get to manage events is via the dashboard menu on the left, and we go into events. I'm going to click into it so that the menu full shows on the left. When you do go, the home of the events section shows you a list of all of the events in the system. You can filter those events by all of them, only the ones that are published, looking at the ones that are in draft mode, and even looking into the trash bin to see what's been deleted. The events, as time goes on, are going to become a very long list. So in addition to filtering by a particular category of event, you can also search the events. Let's see, we've got 2 things in June. So let's look for June. And there we go. Now, if you recall prior, and I'll go back to that list, there were actually 3 events with a start date in June, but only 2 of them with the word June in the title, and that's what the search actually does. It searches through the title. Here we are back at the full list. June dinner meeting, June book chat. Here's the other event I mentioned that has a start date in June, but does not have June in the title. So please bear that in mind as you do your searches. The next item that we have, we're going to skip for now, but it's add new, and that is the way that you actually add a new event. We're skipping it because I'd like to get into some of the more basic elements that make up an event, and we'll come back to it in just a little bit. Now, you'll see an entry here called tags. What are tags? Tags are a way of relating multiple words to a post so that you can describe it more thoroughly for search engine use and for the system itself to categorize the reason or the descriptive terms for an event. Multiple tags are actually encouraged, and it's a good way to really give the search engines a way to find your events based on what somebody's interest might be. For example, you might have tags that are political events, perhaps a candidate's name, perhaps an office that the candidate is running for. All of these can be used as tags to help draw more people into the event. So how do you enter a tag? Here in the tags menu, or option rather, you see a list of the current tags on the right, and the option to add a new tag on the left. Let's add one here. Now the next field that we have here is called a slug. A slug is as it says right below, it is a way of giving the system without putting spaces and things like that. You'll notice on the right that there's dashes and other values that replace the spaces. It's a way of making it so that the URL at the top, which is up here, can make sense relative to the content. So we're going to give it a slug name like that, and the description would be something that defines what this tag actually means, perhaps in less concise words so that it's easier for a human to understand. And then to save it, all we do is add new tag. Once it's been added, it is immediately available to anyone creating a calendar event and can be used by anyone authorized, I should say, to create a calendar event. Now, we don't want to leave this in here, so we're just going to go ahead and do a delete. And you'll see the system remove it right away. Event categories are very similar to tags, with the exception that they are organizable in a parent-child relationship. They are also used by several other widgets which allow you to select only certain categories in carousel format or a slider format or other ways, perhaps in a special presentation box that's aligned to the right of certain pages, and things could scroll through. For instance, if you have a monthly meeting that you want excluded from the standard presentations, you could say create a category that is monthly, create a category as you already have in here, charity, and a category called political. I think all of your meetings are political. In any case, you can create these categories and filter them in different parts of the site. For instance, on the front page, you can have upcoming political rally events, and only those would display on the front page. So to create one, do that again here. I'm creating one with no spaces just so for simplicity's sake I can put that into the slug field. The slug is the same, by the way, all over the system. Slugs are used in pages, in events, and comments. It's a pretty ubiquitous field. Parent, this is what I was talking about earlier, where you can relate the event categories to each other. In this case, we're creating a top level one. And description, just a better way, a human understandable way of describing what this category is. And to save it, you just click the Add New Event Category button. And here we see it. And again, because I don't want to leave this laying around, let's go ahead and delete it. The next menu option is Venues. This is very important since people have to understand and know how to get to where it is you want to meet. There are a few here already. Pinchers, Harvey's, Big Theater. There's one here also listed called Unnamed Venue. I'm not really sure what that was there for, but in any case, let's go ahead and create a new one. And we do that right here with the Add button at the top. Now, I'd like to caution you at this point from adding any private residential venues into the system here. The reason is that these venues are searchable by Google, Bing, and Yahoo. The information is made public if the search engine picks up the event and displays it. Of course, this is a personal preference, and it is a recommendation of our company to keep residential addresses private. If someone wants to come to an event that you're holding at a residential location, we recommend that you put in a phone number for people to contact you so they can know how to get there. It's not a huge protective barrier, but it is one step in the path of keeping your information private. So back to the actual adding. Let's go ahead and create a title. So we got a name. We can now create a few paragraphs if we choose to describe this venue. As we continue to scroll down, we get to the meat of this data. The address, city, of course the United States as a country, and of course you've got phone number and website information in addition to the address. These two check marks are great because it gives the system authorization to automatically go out to Google Maps, pull the appropriate information, and display it on the page describing the venues. Any venues that are attached to events will also have the map and the directions link displayed with them. Check these off. And to save it, all we do is either save it as a draft if we don't want to show it to the world yet, or we just go ahead and publish it. And get a notification from the system that the venue is now published. Now again, I don't want to litter your system with our test information, so we're going to go ahead and move this one to the trash. And there it is. The next option that we have in the menu is organizers. These are the people, this is the information, the contact people for the events that you're running. We do have two here already. I'm going to go ahead and just add another one. Of course, all of this information is very similar to the other bits of information we've entered. There's name, there's a descriptive area, and then there's the contact information. Website if the person has one, and an email if you want to have them be contacted directly through the site. And then again, we can save it as a draft, or we can publish it. Now, Fred Smith is a really nice guy, but we're going to move him to trash now. Okay, the next few items are for more advanced use. Import CSV means CSV is a comma-separated value file, which is similar to an Excel spreadsheet. As a matter of fact, if you have an Excel spreadsheet of events, you can save it as a CSV and then import it to the system, and it will automatically populate all of the events. You can actually import venues, organizers, and events, not simultaneously, but each one individually. Choose the file from your local hard drive. Tell the system if there are column names in the first row of your CSV, and then you simply import it. I don't have anything to import, so we're going to skip that for now. And I actually recommend you don't do this very often until you learn a little bit about CSV files, because we don't want to import that information into the system. Next, we have settings. This area really be very, very careful around, simply because mistake in entry here could have pretty far-reaching effects throughout the entire site. However, so you know, there are settings here about how many events that you can show per page, formatting uh, of the dates, of times, of currency symbols, how you want maps to show, and default zoom levels. There's really quite a bit here. You can merge duplicates. If you import the same CSV file twice, you will have the same event listed twice for all of the lines in it. So this is a way of cleaning that up. Debug mode is not something I recommend you go into unless you're actually looking for a system problem, because it shows information in the log, and the log can get very large and end up utilizing all the space that you have for your site. Viewing the welcome page and viewing the update page is something you can do from here, and you don't need to worry about that because that's basically information about the installation and stuff like that. The display tab shows display specific options like colors, styles, the default view. As a matter of fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the default view to month, because that is something that I've noticed is preferable. If you want to disable the event search bar, you would check this. How many view events per day? This number 3, it's telling the system that once you have 3 events in a day and you add a 4th, then in the lower right-hand corner of the box representing that day on the month calendar, it's going to show an ellipsis, the 3 little dots. So you have to click that in order to see all the rest of the events. This is date formatting, date and time separators, time range. All of these things are about how the dates should be displayed. Here are advanced template settings. I don't recommend you make any changes here unless you really know what you're doing. And then finally at the bottom, save the changes. Now, there's 2 ways of getting to the help, which is our next menu option. You see it here, you also see it here. Help is a great resource. I strongly recommend you spend some time reading this. This talks about how to use the system, how to use forums if you ever need help that you want to see if problem you're experiencing. There's information here about the system. This information, if you ever have to contact the manufacturer of this widget, that they would need in order to help you diagnose a problem. And of course, system, because all of these widgets are rated by the community at large. If you like it, I recommend you give them a good rating, because this is a wonderful, wonderful widget. Excuse me. And finally, we have the event add-ons. These are widgets that tie into your calendar subsystem and extend its functionality. The 2 that I recommend are Eventbrite. Eventbrite is a website and an event tracking software that allows you to charge for your events without necessarily having an elaborate shopping cart system on your site. Excuse me again. So once you add this, you would go and create an Eventbrite account, and then you could accept payments and everything related to the event right on your site. But there are more benefits than just that. When you broadcast your event on Eventbrite, people who have expressed an interest in the type of event that you're running will see the event as well. So it's a great way not only to make it a lot easier to charge for your events, but it makes it a lot easier for you to broadcast these events out to people who wouldn't otherwise have heard about it. Another widget that we recommend is Facebook Events. It's another way of getting the word out about your events. because what it does is when you enter an event into your site, it automatically posts it on your Facebook page as well. It's a great way to save yourself some time and to save some hassle. There are many other widgets that can tie in here, but I'll leave you to go and explore that and decide if anything is worthwhile for you. Now, we understand what the basic elements of an event are. Let's go ahead and add a new one. Now, as always, there's a title. I do recommend that you use spaces, punctuation in your event title. The title is what a human reads rather than what the computer reads. Now we have the ability here to create some description about what this event is. Put in some text. And here we get to set the parameters of the event. Is it an all-day event? Does it start on such and such a date at such and such a time? End date and time. The event venue you get to pick. Of course, you can override the defaults here regarding Google Map visibility and placement. We're going to head and select Doris as our event organizer for this one. If we have a website for the event, for instance, if you're running something with United Way, you might want to post a link on this event to the United Way's event website as well. And of course, you have the ability of entering both a before and an after cost, meaning if you buy a ticket ahead of time, it's slightly discounted usually. Oops. I didn't mean to enter that there. The currency symbol is always going to be dollars for us, at least I hope. So the cost before will be $10. An excerpt is a summary that you can enter, especially if you have a very long description up above. You might want to put a summary for your event. This is something that will be picked up by search engines and Eventbrite and any other systems that you use to help push out the notification of your new event. Now you can add custom fields here. This is an advanced feature, but you can add a few different things here. But again, I would hold off until you really have a deeper understanding of what these are. Now discussion, this is interesting. If somebody is a user of the site, if they have registered, they could have the ability to actually comment on the event. Usually that's something that occurs either during or after the event, and it's hoping for people to say things like, "Oh, it was a great event. I would recommend you go next time. We learned a tremendous amount, or we were able to get people to vote that might not otherwise have voted." Just really whatever kind of an event you're having, you want to hear good feedback about it. Now, if you're not sure that you're going to get that kind of feedback, then you might want to turn commenting off. And again, the author is anyone authorized, can be anyone authorized to create pages and posts and other things in the system. And there you have it. Now, all of the other data that we talked about is listed here on the right. We can add tags either manually by typing them, or we can select them from the most used tags and since we don't have too many events in the system, we can just go ahead and add them. We can't add them because they're not here. So let's just add political. And this is, by the way, all of the, as you start typing, a list of the tags that are already set in the system will show up that match your typing. So let's just say politics. And let's see, status. Again, this doesn't really make a lot of sense because this is a test, a calendar entry, but when you start entering real events, you can make a lot better sense here. Here's the categories. We'll call it political. And of course, we can either add a new one on the fly, or we can go to the most used list. We don't have a lot of entries, so there's no most used. Here are some options that you have. Sticky in calendar view means that if you have 30 events in a day, this one will stay in view all the time, even if someone tries to scroll off the page. I would use this sparingly, but for something that's truly important. Perhaps you have a big fundraiser coming up or an important election that you want to make sure people show up for the voter drive. Then you go ahead and make it sticky. Hide from event listings, I can't imagine you ever wanting to use, because what it means basically is I'm going to create this event, but I'm going to hide it from everybody. And then finally, of course, this is a feature that's also pretty prevalent throughout the system. It's the featured image. If you're talking about a campaign, you could put a politician's picture or campaign slogan or logo or something on it. If you're talking about some other kind of event, perhaps with a partner, you can put their logo there. It's picked up and searched by the search engines and will show up whenever it's displayed in a search listing. And there you have it. I'm going to go ahead and save this as a draft. We're going to go ahead and preview it so you can see what it looks like. And here we see it. The details. Down below is the venue location. It shows you a map of the location. And there's the rest of the site, the footer. Now there are some very nifty features here. When someone does post an event and a viewer or a visitor to your website sees it and they're interested, they can either click on the Google Calendar link if they use Google, or they can click on iCal if they use an iPhone or another browser or some other system. Both of these automatically enter all of the details into their own calendar so that it will remind them to visit on the date of your event. Now, to show you one of the changes we made in the system, prior to this it would just show a list of events, but since we changed it, we're now looking at the current month and the events for the month. You'll notice that you can hover over an event. It'll show you a fairly nice looking little window that pops up with some of the basic information. You can also select events by month, by date, by another search criteria, the text that you've entered or the title. And then you just click Find, and it pulls up a list of those events. Now let's take the opportunity to look for the events with the word book in it. Entered it, we click Search, and now you'll see that only the book chat comes up. You can also export an entire month's event by clicking on the button down at the bottom right. Of course, it's going to be limited based on your search criteria. So this export would only bring out all of the events with the word book in it. So now we are complete with all of our event processing. Thank you for watching, and have fun updating the site.